Greetings and hallucinations, and welcome to another fun episode of Photoshop Party. What's today? Text Tool Day. Talk about texts and fonts and all that fun stuff. So here we go. Let's get started and have some fun. First thing up, let's go with share screen. And minimize that, make it go away. We're here, and you can see can you see the screen that's up right now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. That's important. So what we're going to do is talk about West Coast School, which is only just over a month away. And if you haven't signed up yet, you need to sign up right away because my class is almost full.
Oh, that's awesome, Michael.
It is almost full of, never mind. We have not enough people in my class that I want. I want to have a few more in there and make it fun. However, we are going to have fun with or without you. 0 to 60 in a week with Photoshop. June 4th through the 9th, 2023. There is still room in my class so we can have some fun. Start on Sunday, do the class picture, the orientation at school, then Monday morning, kick it up and get busy. So going to have a good time. I'm looking forward to it. So,
What time on Sunday does it actually start?
orientation starts at
1 second here. I'm bringing it up. Orientation starts at 5 p.m. Class photo at 5:30. By 6 o'clock, you should be eating. We're going to do a little meet and greet up at the apartments area around 7-ish. And then class starts Monday morning at 8:30 sharp.
What time can we check in on Sunday?
3 o'clock.
so.
Okay. Thanks, that's helpful.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
sir.
the reason why we're not checking in until 3 o'clock is because we are doing a CPP exam from 12 to 3.
So if you're interested in taking the exam for certified professional photographer, contact Mel and he'll get you taken care of. Hopefully. But West Coast School, I'm stoked. It's going to be a blast, and always is. And this year is going to be better than ever. So let's talk about something fun. We're going to do the font tool today. So let me go back to April. Well, let's just start with the basic font to start with. So we'll do Command New, boom. Get that out of my way. And go to the text tool, which is T for text. And first thing that pops up is Lorem Ipsum, and all you see is black there. The reason you see black is everything is highlighted, so it gives the opposite color. And the reason it's highlighted in black is because my color right now at the very top is set to white. So if I change it to, say, red, you can see the opposite shows up. There you go. And my current text that is selected is Myriad Pro. If I didn't like Myriad Pro, hit escape and go up here and pick, oh, it's all Myriad Pro except for one. Okay. And this one's Impact. This is out of my favorites because I was using it for a project one time. Instead of going back and forth, I just put it up in my favorites so that I could pick the tool that I wanted or the text that I wanted. And you can set that up just going in here, pick out the text that you want. Let's say 28 days later. This is one of my favorite fonts. I like it because it's just something different. We're going to change it from 16 to say 36. And I see my computer's working very slow right now. And this is 28 days later. And I like this font because it's got kind of a texture to it. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And if you want to make it a little bit bigger, you can also hit where it says a small T and a big T right there next to your font size. You can just click on that, drag it to the right. It's what they call a scrubby slider, and you can make it bigger that way.
Hmm.
And that's 28 days later. Let's say I want to make this one of my favorite fonts. So what I will do is I have it selected right now, and I'm going to make it at 60. Hit enter. Change it back to 60 again because it changed it back. And we'll go to my favorites up here, go to the plus, and we'll make it a new favorite, new tool preset, and we'll call it 28 days at 60 points, 60 point. And when I click OK, you can see that it added it in there. These are sorted by alphabetical order, so it's at the very top. So the thing to remember about favorites is when you're picking a favorite, once you've got your type laid down, you can't go up here and click favorite like Myriad Pro. It won't change it. Even if I highlight it and go to my favorites, it's not going to change. So you have to pick your favorite before you start, but you can change later using the font tool up here and pick Chalk Duster. Looks like it's on a chalkboard. So if I hit Command I,
How can I add a font that I really like and I had it on one computer and I need to add it to this computer?
okay, that's going to be my next thing. Give me 1 second
Okay.
to play with this. If I hit Command I, change it. There's this chalkboard right there. It says 28 days later. And it's actually in Chalk Duster right there. Most of you probably don't have Chalk Duster. So what we can do is go to the internet and open up. You can see my internet right now.
Yep.
Cool. My favorite place to go is dafont.com, DAFONT.com. That has most of the fonts that I'm looking for when I'm looking for a font. And you can pick based on a few things on the side over here, decorative. They got all kinds of different fonts out there available to you. And then you can also, in here, there's a search engine. So we hit 28 days. Oops, 28 DAT. I can type. And there's one font there, 28 days later. And you just go in here, you click on download. In fact, let me find a font that I don't have and I'll download it and show you how to do it on a Mac. Go
Do
back to
Dear Joe.
Dear Joe.
And
Okay.
there's Dear Joe too also. It's one of my favorites.
So Dear Joe, let's see if it's in. They do have it. All right, cool. So that's Dear Joe right here. They got Dear Joe, all the way up to 7 right now. Cool. So I'm going to click on download, and it downloaded it into my downloads up here. So I click on my downloads, double click on Dear Joe at the top, and I'm going to go with TTF right there. Double click on it, and it opens it up and says, do you want to install the font? Sure, why not? Dear Joe is now installed on my computer. It's just that easy. Now, some of the things to remember when you're downloading fonts like this, some of them are for non-commercial use. So if it says for private use only, you can't use it in commercial applications. So if you're using the font, then you got to pay for it through other sources. So be careful about that because you can get in a little hot water over that.
Where does it, can you show us one that says that on there? Or it will be obvious? Because I don't see it on this page.
The first one right here, Arnoldi script,
Yeah.
right above download, it says free for personal use, and then donate to author.
Okay.
So
Oh,
you'd
a
probably have
lot
to,
of them on there are like that then.
there's a lot on there that are like that.
Okay.
So for personal use, you're okay. For professional use, you may want to contact them and say, hey, we need to work out a deal where I can use it without getting sued.
When you try to download it, it will also pop up with those rules.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
I just tried to download a bunch of them that I couldn't because of that. So it does pop up. It's really obvious.
Okay, well, let's do this one. Download.
So
Double
Michael,
click.
while you're doing that, a quick question is, if you use one of these, weird fonts like Dear John or whatever, and you send it to somebody, are they going to can they see any font that you use, even if they don't have them?
If you're sending it like a JPEG or in your file, yeah, they can see any font, even if you send it as a PSD, a Photoshop file, they'll still see it. But if they try to change it and don't have the font on their computer, it'll say, hey, you can't change this because you don't have this font. Do you want to use a substitute? And then Photoshop will say, okay, here's your substitute that I think you might come close with.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. I've had, yeah.
Sorry. I was gonna ask you, do you have to put the fonts in a different folder on your desktop or something? So if Photoshop updates, they're still there or no?
Whenever you add it to your font files, Photoshop will automatically have it.
Okay.
Because that was Dear John, right?
Dear Joe.
Dear Joe, Dear John. Dear Joe is in there already.
Okay,
But
perfect.
anything that's on your computer should show up in here. I wish there was a way to delete some of them because there are way too many. Way too many. And also there's files available up at the top. Where did I go? When I click on my fonts up at the top, to the right, you can find more fonts from Adobe. You just click on that and you have to sign in, which I thought I was already signed in. And then you could pick the fonts that you want to go for. If you know the name of font, it's really easy. And there's hundreds and hundreds of fonts. So you can go in there and find fonts from Adobe as well. These are free to use all the time.
Now, Michael, you should be able to delete fonts out of your font book on the Mac.
Probably. I've never tried to do that. I think I might go through and do that. Pick out the ones I don't want and chuck them, because you only need so many of the special character fonts that you never use. Also on here, you can pick and choose. You can star some of your favorites. So I have some that are starred already. So if I pick all my stars, these are my favorites that I use or have used for different ones. You can also show similar fonts to what you're working with as well. Filter them. And then go back to, got to clear that out somehow. Turn that off. There we go. There we go. All of them are turned off again. So all my fonts show up. Like all these Noto Sans, I don't know what they do. So yeah, it's Noto Sans, nothing. Okay, I don't like it. Goodbye. So
Michael,
that's,
Can you scroll down on the fonts and will it change, will it change the,
Yeah,
like,
what I could do is I'll start on impact. Oh, I see why it's not showing. Okay, let's get rid of that top layer. Now it's on a text layer. So when I go here and hit impact,
oh, okay.
it should change the text, but it's not. Oh, I see why it's doing that again. Okay, to the trash. Thank you. So what you can do is highlight one and then just go down and it changes the text as you go.
Okay.
Are you just hitting the down arrow?
I'm just hitting the down arrow. You can also go through here and as you highlight or go over the top of them, it'll do the same thing. So you have your samples on the right-hand side, but you have it bigger on the right-hand side and you can see what's happening with it.
What's
if you-
with the squares?
The squares was,
I still don't understand that.
it's one of those stupid fonts that I want to get rid of.
Yeah, God.
Okay, so let's close this one out. Don't save. And let's go to this guy right here, one of my seniors last year, and I'm going to crop him to an 8x10, which is almost like a magazine cover we're going to make out of him. Full screen, and we're going to go to the text tool, and I want to go with something really bold and strong. There's one called Azo Sans Uber Regular, which is a very strong, bold text. And let's call this Sports Unlimited, because I don't want to violate any copyrights and mention any other sports magazines. And you can see it's kind of wonky there. So what I'll do is I'll go to the paragraph tool up at the top. We'll bring it out so you can see it. And we can center it. We can right justify it, left justify it. And if you want, you can go full justification with it truncated on the left, truncated on the right, or centered. Or you can do a full justification all the way across. I'm just going to go with the left justification. If you can see all these different things in here, you can make the spacing a lot bigger or not. I'm going to undo that. So hit Command Z. And then also on the character panel, let's bring this guy back over here, go back to character. You can also change your spacing on a lot of different things. Right now, the font size is 60. Let's take it up to 72. There we go. And this is the auto spacing right here. I like it on auto. However, sometimes you get it to where it's screwed up and you're going, why is my font doing that? Because it's set to 12-point spacing between the lines when this was actually 72. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You'll notice on the R right here, it's got a little whoopty on the end of the R. That's because this character right here, contextual alternatives, is selected. I unselect it. Now it goes back to where it should be. You can make it super bold. by hitting the first T right here, which is a fake bold or faux bold. And it makes it even bolder. You can make it italic. This one just makes it all capitals.
Oh,
So you go through and you start playing with these and go, hey, this is pretty cool. I can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can space it side to side. So we can make it, right now it's set at 60. Let's change our font down to 48, which makes it, oops, that's the size, never mind, auto for that one. And with font size, we'll go to 48, which makes it a smaller font, but you can space it so it's at 60. Or you can make the letters closer together, whatever you want to do with it. You can do that as well. You can do the same thing a little bit wider. So we got that. All kinds of cool stuff you can do with it. So let's go ahead and make it so it's big again. Let's go with 72. And that's like way too big because it cuts it off. You can also go to the top up here. Instead of using the character panel, you can go up here and drag it to the left. And it's at 54. Let's go ahead and make it 60. And it's too big. $48, that'll work. We can do it with 48. And you make it back to small again and drag it back up onto your panels on the side so it's always there. I don't want to do black with this guy. I want it to be white. You'll notice that I'm not selecting all the letters. You can go in here, double click. Wow, that's changed it automatically for me. I don't want that. I can double click and change anything I want to change, or hit enter. I can, as long as my text tool, my text layer is selected, my text tool is selected, I can make changes to it. So let's make it white. And the quick shortcut for white on the color picker, instead of going up here and try and get all the way up there and get it right, FFF or 6 Fs will make it the hexadecimal code for that. And if you wanted to go with black, you click on it and hit 0, or you hit 0000000, 6 zeros. Basically down at the bottom down here, there's 6 numbers that are hexadecimal, and that's how you programmed in on a website. You could program the colors that you wanted and put them in there. So if I typed in F94G E0, you come up with this bizarre color, but you can custom pick your colors if you know what your hexadecimal number is. But I'm going to go with white, and I want it to go behind him when I drag it down. So I'm going to hit the move tool, and I'm going to drag it so it's right there, but I want it behind him. The fastest way to do that I can think of is go to my background layer, click on either W or go to the object selection tool. It selected him, perfect. Come on, there we go. We got the marching ants going around him. Hit Command or Control J, which brings him up on his own layer, but it's still not behind him, is it? But if I drag it down, it's now behind him. Now let's modify this just a little bit more. You can either double click on the blue next to the T right there, not on the word because it will redo the word for you, or you can go down to effects, FX, and we're going to put a stroke on there. And we'll select the color. So it's from his uniform. Option click, boom. That's a little bit too strong of a stroke, so we'll make it. There we go. And let's add a little drop shadow to it just for fun. Maybe if the sun's coming from the left-hand side, you're going to want your shadow on the right-hand side. So the sun is coming from the left on your angle right here. Or you can, normally you can drag around your drop shadow, but this for some reason is not letting me do it anymore. I don't know if it's update or whatever. Now you have Sports Unlimited. Now let's add another text layer down at the bottom. And you can see that it's, I don't know if you can see it down here or not. But it's coming in somewhere down there like teeny tiny because it's at 2.8 points. It's like, how did I get there? I never selected that size. So let's go ahead and we're going to do Arial. And let's do, say, 24 point in white. And we're going to say HS Picture of the Year. And hit the move tool. V for move tool. Drag it down to the left. And it was left justified. I changed my mind. The art director said, let's go ahead and center that. Easy to do. Go up to the top where you have your justifications and hit center. I was like, wait, what? That didn't work. Move tool, drag it over, and you can, hopefully you can see that nice purple line that goes up to the top. That shows me that it's perfectly centered. If you're going to make changes to this, doing different techniques and stuff, what you might want to do is make this a smart object. So right click in the blue area, convert to smart object. The reason being, if you decide, or your art director decides, hey, I want a period between the H and the S, I want to be able to modify that or whatever is needed. All you have to do is double click on the word that's in the layers panel, put your period in, and then Command W to close. We're going to save it. And it cut off the ends. Well, that's not good. So we'll have to double click on it again. Take out my periods and try to figure out why it won't let me add. So we'll close it again, commit, save, and it's back to normal. That's weird that it won't let me.
Michael, that's also not centered.
That's not centered?
No, when I measured it on my screen, it's a couple millimeters off. It's to the left. It's closer to the left than the right. Do you have like spaces in there before and after, before it or after it or anything?
That should be
it's not-
centered.
I know, but when I measure from the H to the end, the left end, and from the R to the right end, they're different. They're about 2 millimeters off. And
That
I can
is-
see it. Now it looks centered to me.
That's bizarre.
Are you in a box? Are you in a, you're not in a
I'm not in the text box.
right?
No. That's weird. Okay.
Can you see the text box though at all, Michael? Because that might be why when you're adding the characters, it's cropping it out.
Well, it's showing a text box here, but
Right.
I don't know why it's doing that.
So is that, it didn't cut it off when you added those periods, right?
It cut it off. So if I add a
It cut
period
it
in
off when
here-
you closed it, but it didn't cut it off in this view.
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, it
It
did,
did.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
all
it
right,
does.
it did, yeah.
Can you expand the box by a control or command T and then just bring it out? And then you add your periods?
No.
Huh.
I don't understand that one. That's
Problem might be the box was already created in that other, when you made the smart object. Go,
That-
maybe delete that layer and do that again and try creating a box and spread the box all the way to the left and right
Yeah,
before you create the smart layer. 'Cause you're probably running into a bounding box issue.
it could be.
There you go. Yeah. Now put your text in.
Let me make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah. You want to be able to see it? Really?
Yeah. Change it to centered.
Now you should be centered in the box you created.
Okay, that's centered there. So let's make it a smart object, see what happens. There's a lot of things you just do that just don't want to play. Now I put the
Yeah.
period in there and it cut it off again. Let me try that one more time.
It didn't.
Command W, commit, save, and it cut it off again.
You may want to change your font size.
But I don't want to change my font size.
Yeah, cut it off on both ends though, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, changing the font size does fix it, but why is it doing that is my question.
Why are you going to a smart object to begin with? I guess. Let me ask that.
Because there's going to be times where you want to make modifications to it down the road,
Mhm.
and it'll say, do you want to rasterize this? No, I don't want to rasterize it because in case I want to make a change to it.
Right, but as long as you don't rasterize it, you can just correct the text in that text box.
Right. But once you rasterize it, you're done.
Right.
So
So before you rasterize it, you'd want to do that.
yeah, definitely. You don't want to rasterize text because once you do, you're done. You can't edit it anymore.
Why
It's
would you
Photoshop
want to
3.0.
rasterize it?
Why? There are times when you do something to it, put a filter on it, and it says you need to rasterize this first. So let me,
Also, if you're sending a file to someone who doesn't have the fonts, you rasterize it. That way they don't need the font, but then they can't edit it either.
okay, I've converted it back to regular text layer. So let's go to filter. Let's go to blur gallery. And just for fun. Okay, here we go. This type layer must be rasterized or converted to a smart object before proceeding. If rasterized, this text will no longer be editable. So if I click on rasterize, I can no longer take out the periods behind the H and the S. So that's why you would want to convert it to smart object.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. Hit cancel. And at this point, I can still change that font to, because right now it's in Azo and I wanted to make it Arial. Let's make it Arial black. And we can change it there. But if I decide, okay, I want it up higher, V for move. And you can still put it behind him, or you can put it in front of him by putting it above him. And so if I put it above him, I need some definition. So I'll just double click here, add a stroke. We'll do the same blue stroke, only make it smaller. And there you go. Bob's your uncle.
You know what I'm thinking about the smart object, the layer.
Mhm.
If you something about that smart, is that the correct term I'm using? The smart object. If the opacity is lower, it kind of locks it in at that opacity also too. So I'm just wondering if the format that you have for a high school picture of the year, once you turn it into a smart layer, it kind of locks the dimensions. I've seen that happen on mine.
Okay, smart object. Let's go ahead and drop the opacity down. You can mess with the opacity, but you have to go in to make any changes to it. You have to go into that layer to make the
Mhm,
changes.
Right.
But
What I meant is if you
$25.
if your layer was a regular layer and your opacity was lower, and then when you change it to a smart object, it gets locked at
Texture,
that lower
$25.
opacity when you change it into a smart
Okay.
object.
We'll explain later.
so if I undid the smart object, drop the opacity, take it down to 53%.
Mhm.
Now I make it a smart object. It's locked at that opacity.
Right, right.
So if I double click on it, I can raise the opacity back up by opening it back up
Okay, okay.
and then
Mhm,
closing it,
mhm,
saving it, and it's back to full opacity.
mhm.
So it's not going to corrupt that file at all by doing that.
No,
Okay.
the smart object, you can do anything you want with it. You can make it smaller. So I can make it shrink the size way down so you can't see it. And then Command T to bring it back up again. And the quality is there. If I didn't, let's take the Sports Unlimited, we'll do the same thing to it. Shrink it down. Lock it in, Command T to bring it back up again. Actually, it did okay. It wasn't too bad, but it's still a little soft. You start to see pixelization in there, especially if you do it more than a couple times. Take it down, bring it back up. It starts getting softer and softer as you go. Photoshop is good at making it full size again. So, okay, questions on that? Going once, going twice. Gone.
Oh, can you group those files so it'd be easier to work with, Mike?
Yeah, you can group anything in there.
Okay.
Here I've got some flowers. I'm going to change it from a background to a layer. I'm going to add a text layer on here. Let's go with
So,
28.
Mike,
Yes.
when I originally asked about doing the text stuff, the problem I was having, and maybe you could use this image to do it. The problem I was having is I was copying some text from an email and then putting it into a Photoshop document, a Photoshop image.
Okay.
And it was coming in all kind of piled up.
Okay.
I had to go in, and it took me a while to figure out how to fix that. Is that just using the properties box? Is that
Yeah.
all you have to do?
That would be all you had to do. Let's go
Oh,
ahead
okay.
and I don't know if these are,
Yeah, I was just using, I told people to send me the text they wanted on their announcements. And
Uh-huh.
so I was just taking straight from a normal email. Thanks.
Okay, I just took that from one of my emails, Command V to paste. It says image competition. And you can see that it's in 28 days later at 18 points. The reason being, that was the file or the font that was selected when I entered it in here. So let's go ahead and escape that, change it to Arial 64. And let's make it bold, italic. So that's what it's supposed to look like, Command V. And you'll see that it's the stuff that's supposed to be in there. It's image competition, but whatever font you have selected at the time is what it's going to type at. So you just lock it in and say, okay, let's go to properties or the font properties, so paragraph. We can change it up here or go to character. I want to do, say, 16 point and let's go ahead and do this. Command V. And right now my spacing is set to auto. So if I put it to 16 point, and let's do it again. 16. And we'll go into this box, add competition. Lock it in. It's now locked in. So if I do 16 point, you can see that it gets that weird spacing. That's probably what you had happen. Something like, whoa. Where it just puts it on top of each other. Auto should fix it. I think that's a little bit too close. So let's go to 18 point spacing and it went smaller. 24 point spacing. There we go. I think it's better for that. You just go into your character panel right here and make it work. So hey, whatever you want in there. Does that answer your question? Hopefully.
I think yes.
Okay. If not, we can work it out afterwards.
No, I think you did fine. Thank you. That's
Okay,
what I
fine.
needed.
Cool. I'm going to get rid of that layer and let's go to 28 days later. And I'm going to make it at 36, maybe bigger. A lot bigger. And I'm going to type the word flower. Center it. And to me, that's way too small for what I plan on doing. So let's go to 125 font size, still too small. 300 is probably way too big. And you'll notice it goes from 72 to 150 to 300. So if you want something custom, you just type in your custom, what you want, 200. And that is going wonky on me.
Looks a little artistic.
Very artistic. So let's go ahead and click on here.
Probably your font box isn't wide enough for that.
That looks like you've been drinking too many Kevin's tequilas.
That's what we do at West Coast School, baby.
A few more weeks, man.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and drag it up. I hit Command T to make it bigger. And that looks wicked cool. But I'm going to put the flowers on top of the letters. And I'm going to do what's called the clipping mask. So I'm going to hold the Alt or Option key. And there you have flowers in there. And with that, with the move tool, I can move my flowers around anywhere in there
Hmm.
to make them work.
Could you go back and do that again? Did you go on the layer, the top layer?
Okay, my original image,
Oh,
the bottom layer was the flowers.
okay.
If I did that with the flower on top, it does nothing. You can see I make a clipping mask and it did nothing. So I'm going to undo my clipping mask. I'm going to drop the word flower underneath, put a clipping mask on by holding the Alt or Option key in between the letters.
Oh,
And well, I don't really like that particular font for that. So let's go to T for text. It's 28 days later. Let's go to that one, but again, I need to make my box a little bit bigger. Or my font smaller. I'm going to need to make a smaller font. So instead of 300 point, let's go ahead and make it 250. And it fits. And now you click on the layer with the flowers on it, hit the move tool, and you can drag them around wherever you want.
How did you make that transparent? So I forgot what you did.
I can't tell you that. Hang on, let me do something really quick here. I'm going to put a new layer underneath and I'm going to fill it with black. So what we'll do is undo the clipping mask. Put the word on top. Okay. The word is on top right now. What I'm going to do is drag the word under the flowers and create a clipping mask, which is hold the Option or Alt key or click on the top layer, right click, create clipping mask. And there's also a keyboard shortcut, which is too long for me to worry about. I'm just going to create clipping mask. And now I have my flowers.
wow, that's so cool.
And I can move them around wherever I want and play.
Hmm.
Do you need that one more time or are we good? Going once, going twice. Well, let's go ahead and change the color of our background. Go from black to maybe a dark green. And then with flowers, you can add a stroke to it. And we're going to change from blue to white. So I hit FFF, bring up white, make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. And there you go. Bob's your uncle.
That is slick.
That was worth the price of admission today.
Yay!
That was slick. I like it better that you do a right click on it though to find the instead of going in between for the Alt
Oh, okay.
for the transition. I'm sorry.
For doing the clipping mask?
Yes, I'm sorry, the clipping mask.
Yeah, I normally just hold the Alt or Option key down to bring the two up. It's just so much quicker for me. I can either click on the pancakes at the top or the hamburgers, one guy calls it, or you can right click on the layer and release clipping mask, right click, create clipping mask.
Oh, okay.
But it's just so much easier to hit the Alt or Option key and go back and forth. Really easy.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Going once, going twice, We are back live.
Where was that photograph taken?
That was in beautiful downtown Lompoc, California.
Wow. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
They have beautiful flower fields.
Well, they used to have a whole bunch of flower fields,
Yeah.
used to. It's changed a whole lot. They've moved
Didn't
all the
Carl's,
flower.
didn't Carlsbad used to have the flowers that bloom just off the highway there?
Yes, there's a big field there also, but it's different. That's ranunculus. These are
Oh.
different flowers.
Oh, okay.
Antelope Valley has a huge poppy population right now, I believe. They got a
Where is
super-
Antelope Valley?
Out the 14 freeway, past Lancaster.
Oh, so it's a good 2 hours from here.
For you.
For you, yes.
For
at
Santa
least 2
Barbara.
hours.
For
Yeah.
Santa Barbara.
Yeah, from you, yeah.
There's another place north or right around Atascadero off the roadways.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name of that place now.
Well,
Teresa,
Montero del Oro has some along the coast there as well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're all right now. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Just cray cray.
We're getting all the vineyards right now, the grapevines and the trees around them are just blooming like crazy right now. So there's,
Yeah. It's
No.
time to get out and play.
yep.
Spring
Okay.
has sprung.
Anybody have any questions before I turn off the recording?